Hi and welcome to the new stacking feature in RSpec. Before we dive into the details on how to use it, I wanted to show you the examples we're going to use in these videos so that you see ahead of time the kinds of things that we can do. On the upper left here, we can see in the blue is an original star analyzer spectrum of Vega, and you can see in the red the result of stacking. You can see a lot of the noise is going away and some of the features are much clearer than they'd be otherwise. Down below that is a slit spectrum, and that's of a Wolf-Rayet star. And again, you can see in the blue a lot of noise in that spectrum. And then once we stack the images, we can see that features appeared that just were indiscernible before stacking. On the bottom right, we've got the spectrum of a Mag-12, a very dim nova, captured with a telescope with a DSLR and star analyzer. You can see on the bottom, with such a dim object, the spectrum is very noisy. But then in red, we can see a lot of that noise goes away, and once again, more features are visible. And then finally, in the upper right, we can see the spectrum. This is a DSLR spectrum. You can see on the bottom in blue, it's a noisy spectrum, and then in the red on the top, the noise really goes away, and we can see very clearly the features. So these are the examples we'll be using in these videos. And as I said, I thought it would be helpful for you to see where we're going and the quality of improvement that we can get from stacking. Now let's start the videos. The stacking feature in RSpec lets you improve your spectral profiles by combining multiple images. In this video, I'll introduce you to the process. This is the toolbar button that opens the stacking screen. When I click on it, the stacking window opens. We're going to start by looking at this field at the top of the window. It contains the name of a folder. RSpec stacking is done on a folder basis. All the images in a stack, as well as the output and any configuration settings, are saved in one folder. Let's select the folder that has the images that I'm going to use in this video. First, I'll click on this triple dot ellipsis button. Here's the current folder. We can browse to the folder that contains the images that we want. There's the folder. And when I select it, we can see a list of all the files in that folder to make sure we selected the right folder. I'll click on the Select This Folder button. And now you can see that the grid here lists all of the image files from the folder. RSpec only lists image files here, so no .txt files or any others, only image files. So look, although most of the files are bitmap files in this list, notice there are a few JPEG files here that are in the folder. We want to stack files that are just one type only. So we can use this file mask field to select just the files that we want. I'll choose BMP files. So maybe you're wondering right now, why is Tom going to use bitmaps, which are often low resolution color files? But this particular folder contains only frames that originally came from an AVI video file. And AVI files are just 8-bit images. So bitmap video works well here. There's no loss in quality. I won't get into the details now, but here under Tools are the menu options to extract frames from AVI video files, SER, serial video files, and even raw image files like the CR2 files that come from Canon cameras. This means that you can stack almost any kind of image that you have, but more about that in another video. Okay, back here in the stacking screen, I can click on any row to open the spectrum image in RSpec. For example, I'll double click here on frame 5. You can see it opened over here. And as usual, the file name also shows up in the title bar. And if we move the orange lines, of course there's a spectrum profile to see, and we'll be looking at that in a moment. One way to step through all of our images on the grid is to use these Open Prev and Open Next buttons. As I click on them, the next or previous image is opened on the left. Or we can also use the keyboard Control up arrow and Control down arrow combination, as I'm doing now. This is a great way to preview your spectra. In fact, this is the first thing we do when stacking. Step through your images and select an image that has one of the better profiles in your stack. Here, I'm going to watch this hydrogen beta line and find one that looks pretty good. There, that one looks good. Nice and deep, noise-free, sharp, symmetrical, better than a lot of the others. So I'm going to choose this as our base image, and I'll mark it as what's called the reference image, clicking this button. Now you can see that the grid row turned yellow. That tells RSpec to align all of the other images to this reference image and then stack them. Try and find a reference image that has a nicely shaped and clear absorption or emission line, or look for an image whose zero order profile is smooth and symmetrical. To tell RSpec where your zero order is, over on the image, first hold down the control key, and then while you're holding it down, hold down your left mouse button and draw a box around the star. Leave a little gap around the star so we can see some background too. There, it's a few times bigger than the star, so there's a small region around it containing the background. In the rest of these videos, I'll be calling this box the red capture box. The size of the red capture box isn't critical. In fact, just make it a little bit bigger than the star. Okay, now we're ready to stack. So I'll come over here and click on the stack button. In this log window, RSpec displays the name of each file as it's processing. And when it's done, here it shows us the name of the final stacked output file. And it automatically opens that output file on the left. As usual, the open file name is up here on the title bar. Notice the stacked image is mono, but the original image we looked at a moment ago was in color. So here's the thing. All stacking gets done in mono, which gives the best results. And RSpec automatically converts color images to mono, so there's nothing you need to do here to make that happen. Let's look over here at the spectrum. Do you remember how noisy that original image was? So, I don't remember half the time, and even when I do remember, it's hard to compare what's in my memory to what's on the screen. So let's do this. I'm going to backtrack a little here. Over on the grid, I'll reopen the reference image again by double-clicking on it. There, it's now displayed in the image window like it was before and over here on the profile graph. Now, before I click on the stack button, I'm going to push it to the reference graph with this button. Okay, so now it's the blue reference line, so it'll stick around for comparisons. Okay, let's stack again. I'll click the stack button, and I'll speed it up a little bit here. Okay, it's done. Over here is the stacked image, and over here in red is its profile. And in blue is the original unstacked reference image. They're both visible, so it's easy to compare the before and after graphs. So let's zoom in by holding the shift key down as usual, and then holding the left mouse button down and drawing a box around the graph. Ah, that's a great view. Notice that most of the noise that was in the original blue has disappeared in the stacked red result. Isn't that amazing? And look how clear the absorption lines are. This hydrogen alpha line in the original was barely visible and messy. But in the stacked version, it's nice and clear and noise-free. Same thing with this hydrogen gamma feature. But what about this hydrogen delta feature? It's deeper in the original data's blue line than in our red stacked line. This is an example where our reference image happened to be a lucky image at this wavelength. Due to momentary good conditions, the blue line for the original image is deeper than the average stacked feature in red. That's going to happen sometimes. Notice, though, that the stacked red version is a better feature. It's a nice, symmetrical, noise-free Gaussian curve rather than the deep but noisy blue original. In a later video, we'll talk about how to do lucky imaging when we select only some of the images. And sometimes just selecting a different reference image can eliminate that issue. Now, one more thing you'll notice. Notice the general shape of the stacked image is different from the shape of the original image. That's because for the best results, as I mentioned, RSpec converted everything to mono. The general shape, what we call the spectral energy distribution, or SED, is different in mono. So just a hint, if you're going to be correcting for instrument response in the future with your stacked images, you'll need to create a new instrument response curve using the mono stacked output image. No big deal. Okay, we're just about at the end of this first video, but I wanted to show you one more thing to give you a taste for what's next. Remember a moment ago I'd forgotten to put the original reference image on the reference curve, so I was unable to do a before and after comparison. So I went back and used this button to push the original reference image to the reference curve and then restacked, right? It's easy to forget even that. That's where the stacking options button can really help us out. I can open this screen and here tell RSpec to always push the main profile, the red one, to the reference profile when I begin to stack. There, done. Now I can close this window, and the next time I stack, RSpec will automatically push the main profile, the red one, to the reference profile, the blue one, which is usually what we want. So wrapping up, we've covered a lot of ground in this video. A moment ago I said I had one last thing, which I've already shown you, but it occurred to me after I made this video that it would be really helpful for you to see a summary of what we've done. And for that, I'm going to open the FAQ by clicking on this button. We'll be discussing the FAQ in a future video, but for now, let's just jump to the appendix by clicking this button. This is what we worked on in this video. It's a great checklist that you can use when stacking. Let's go through the steps quickly. When you open the stacking screen, you first select the folder that has your images and you filter it if necessary. Then you open one image at a time to find a good spectrum. You can double click, you can use these buttons, and you can use the keyboard to step through the images. Then click the Set Reference button. And finally, draw a box around the zero order star. And then it's just a matter of clicking the Stack button. The FAQ is always available with this button. And it's a floating screen, so you can move it out of the way or minimize it and then come back to it later. As we approach the end of this video, I wanted to tell you that this button here will allow you to download all of the sample data used in all of these stacking videos so you can work through the examples yourself. So that's the end of this video. We can see how stacking can dramatically improve our images. We'll see plenty of additional examples of that going forward, and we'll continue to see how easy it is to do this in RSpec. For me, it's really exciting to see how much stacking can improve our spectra.